ಬರಿದೆ ಮಾತೇಕಿನ್ನು ಅರಿತು ಪೇಳುವೆನಯ್ಯ ಬರಿದೆ ಮಾತೇಕಿನ್ನು ಅರಿತು ಪೇಳುವೆನಯ್ಯ ತೊರೆದು ಜೀವಿಸಬಹುದೇ ಹರಿ ನಿನ್ನ ಚರಣಗಳ. This beautiful composition was written by the saint Kanakadasa, who lived in the southern part of India from Karnataka. He lived between 1509 to 1609. Apparently he lived for 100 years. Very ardent devotee of Lord Krishna. What he says in this, just the 2 lines, "O Lord Krishna, is it ever possible to live this life by giving up your feet?" And I am not saying this just as a phrase, but I am saying this as an experience that I have felt. Standing today here on this auspicious day, thinking about our Avatar Declaration Day from Swami, I feel very compelled and tempted to borrow this phrase from Kanakadasa's song and say, "Toredu jeevisabahude sai ninna charanagala. Baride matekinnu aritu peluvenayya." It is ever possible, is it ever possible to live our lives by not holding on to the divine lotus feet of our most beloved Bhagavan? And I'm saying this again not as a rhetoric sentence, but truly experiencing his love. Having experienced, having been in his fold, having been in the family who has been in his fold. It is indeed a privilege, and I cannot imagine this life without holding on to his feet. When Brother Girish called me to see if I was available on this day to participate in this event, and I said, "Yes, it would be an honor, thank you so much, I can definitely make it." And then I started to think, what is it that I'm going to say here? What is it that I should be sharing here? I took a few days to think about what I can say. I kept going blank. It wasn't really very obvious to me on what I would want to share here. Interestingly, one day, Girish, can you get the... One day, I was working and I was reading about a particular concept called the 5 whys. 5 whys, W-H-Y. Just a show of hands, how many of you have heard this? 5 whys. Yeah, of course, Girish, I'm sure you have. So 5 whys is a concept that was framed by this person called Sakichi Toyoda, who's the founder of the car company Toyota. All of us know how obsessed Toyota as a company is in terms of quality and others. So this was a concept that he framed to ensure the right quality. And the way this works, thank you. The way this works is very simple, right? It's 5 whys. Whenever you have a problem, ask why. It will lead you to an answer. But most likely that's not the true solution. So ask another why. It will lead you to the next level answer. Keep doing this. And by the time you go to the 5th why, you are almost close to the root cause of that problem. It is as simple as that. And I was reading this concept one day, and I was also thinking on what really will I share, and I thought, just for the fun of it, let me experiment 5 whys for this problem that I have on hand. And I tried. It gave me some answer, and I tried the second why. It gave me some answer. And for the next few weeks, it actually took me on this journey. I started doing this more and more. And what ended up happening is I had a really interesting few weeks. I got an answer, I applied another why, and finally I got to a point which led me to a very, very interesting, profound, deep spot as a destination at the end of the 5 whys. And I thought it was a very interesting journey that I had had, and I wanted to share that with all of you today. And what really happened, how I really developed into that. And of course, as we go through this, on every answer that I got, I would like to pause on that for a minute or two to share that a little bit about the answer that I got, because that's the point today, because really it's very insightful and I think it's apt for what I was looking for. So that's okay. So I will take you through 5 whys today, and every answer, let's see what it actually showed. Therefore, my first why. Why am I going there? I mean, why am I going to Greensboro? Why am I going? And the answer was very simple, right? It's Avatar Declaration Day, and hence I'm going. And hence a little bit of, I started to read what is the Avatar Declaration Day. And a lot of what Girish earlier shared was the kind of answer that I got. And I wanted to share whatever I read about it, just for the benefit of all of us on this. The year, like Girish mentioned, was 1940. And it is a very landmark year in Swami's life. There were very specific incidents that defined Swami's life in this year. Some of which again Girish mentioned. And this is how apparently it played out. March of 1940. Many of us might have heard, Swami got stung by a scorpion. 1940 rural India, scorpion bite, not the best thing to happen. We don't have a lot of good medical facilities, and many of them did not even survive scorpion bites those days. Swami got bit by a scorpion and fell unconscious. And the story goes that ever since that day, Swami started to act in very unusual ways, very mysterious ways, which people did not really understand why. The next incident happened on May. And again, Girish, I think, mentioned this earlier on. There was once when Swami was again trying to be very unusual with a group of friends, and his father barged into his house there and said, like, what is all this? I don't really believe all this is true. I need some proof. What is this? Who are you? What are you trying to do here? And Swami said, bring me some flowers, and picked up the flowers and threw it on the ground. And it formed into the state of name Sai Baba. I am Sai Baba. So that was the day. In 1940, this incident happened. Later on, in July, there was a devotee by name Gali Sharada Devi who visited Swami in Urvakonda. Turns out that this lady was 60 years old when she visited Swami. And she had actually visited and seen Shirdi Baba in her life. And when she came to Swami, Swami in fact identified that and said, where are my 16 rupees? Where is my 16 rupees? And she was very shocked because she owed 16 rupees to Shirdi Baba. And here she is, and she has travelled all the way to Urvakonda in Andhra Pradesh. And here is a boy, 14 years old. How does he know that I owed 16 rupees to Shirdi Baba? And then Swami said, money is not the point. I know about you. 16 rupees is not really what I want. I want you to know I know everything about you. And then finally, October 20th, 1940, Swami declares avatarhood. He comes back from the school in front of his sister-in-law, throws his bag of books and says, I am not your relative Satyam. I am not Satyam, I am Sai Baba. And I am going to meet my devotees. I cannot stay with you anymore. A few things really stood out to me, when I read about this. All of us have read these stories before, and every time I read it, a couple of things really stood out to me. One was the fact that he was 14 years. This is how he looked, 14 years boy. Throws his books and says, I am Sai Baba. I am not your Satyam, and I am going. And the second is the fact that he said, my devotees are waiting and I'm going. And I'm thinking to myself, if I was in that place witnessing that scene, I would step out of the house and see, where are the devotees? What are you talking about? You're 14 years old. You're saying my devotees are waiting. Where are they? Where will you go? And if I reflect about it today, here I am 84 years later, right, in Greensboro, United States of America, and all of us have gathered here to celebrate that very day. It says something. Right? It's a beautiful journey. It's a fantastic time for us to be here and witness this. So that was my first why. This led me to ask my next why. And this was my next why. Why did Swami declare avatarhood? And I think Girish partially mentioned this. I read a lot about it, and I tried to read different types of books and online articles and everything to understand, saying what is the best answer for this question. And nothing could come close to what Swami himself has said about this. And this happened in 1947. Swami was about 21 years old. And this happened because his brother, Sheshamaraju, wrote a letter to Swami and said, what are you doing? And in all concern, with love, wrote a letter to Swami and said, why are you doing this? You will bring bad name to yourself and the family. Are you sure what you are doing? I'm very concerned about you. This was the concern that his brother expressed to Swami. And in reply to that, Swami writes another letter. And again, keep the context in mind, right? This is a 21-year-old boy writing this letter. And the letter is 5 pages long in Telugu. It is preserved today in Parthi. It is 5 pages long. And there is one particular section, which I think really summarizes what he wanted to say. And I did hear a recent, a video where they said that probably defines the mission statement of Swami himself, and I truly agree. It's very profound. Every time I read it, gives me goosebumps, and I thought I should recollect that today, and we should all think about it for a few minutes given the occasion. And I will read that out in Telugu just because it is so beautiful. It can never be matched in any other language, and then we also have an English translation after that. This is what Swami wrote, for those of us who know Telugu. Akhila manavaluku anandamanu gurchi రక్షించుచుండుటే దీక్ష నాకు సన్మార్గమును వీడి చరించు వారలా పట్టి కాపాడుటే వ్రతము నాకు పేద సాధకలైన పెనుబాధలు తొలగించి లేనిని బాపుటే ప్రేమ నాకు నియమ నిష్ఠలతోడ ననుగొల్చు వారిని కాపాడుచుండుటే ఘనత నాకు మంచి చెడ్డలు కూడా మనసులో సమముగా భావించుచుండుటే భక్తి నాకు. What does this mean? I have a task to foster all mankind and ensure for them lives full of ananda. I have a vow to lead all who stray away from me from the straight path again into goodness. I am attached to a work that I love, to remove suffering of the poor and grant them what they lack. I have a reason to be proud, for I rescue all those who worship and adore me. I have my definition of devotion. I expect all those devoted to me to treat joy and grief, gain and loss with equal fortitude. And he goes on to say, I will never give up those who attach themselves to me. I want us to think about two things. One, how profound this is in itself. A 21-year-old boy writing, what clarity of purpose, what clarity of thought, what clarity of mission ahead in his life. And if you think about what Swami accomplished in his whole life, how much it goes back when he wrote this 21 years ago. And second, you probably are not able to see it in this one. I wanted to do a small poll here, right? I wanted to ask you all one question. If you read the last 2 sentences, I have my definition of devotion. I expect all those devoted to me to treat joy and grief, gain and loss with equal fortitude. I will never give up those who attach themselves to me. Does that ring a bell? Where else have you heard something similar to this? Anybody? Please shout out. Gita? Does that sound familiar from Gita to anyone? That happened to me as well. I exactly felt that. I read this and I was like, this sounds very familiar to what I've always heard in Gita. And hence my next question. Why does this sound so much familiar to Gita? And I started to reflect on what is really said in Gita and what has Swami taught us. And without really going in too much into details, I really wanted to compare it at a surface and see what is really similar here. Why does it sound similar? Is it really similar? Is it the same? Why? And I want to put this picture up here. And I had 4 things, and I'm sure all of you, if you think more, you'll have way many more things to say about it. I had 4 things occur to me as I thought about it quite deeply, which was very, very similar to what Gita is present in the form that we understand and what Swami taught us. Number 1, if you look at the picture, and most of it is evident in the picture itself. Number 1, it is a conversation. It is not a monologue. It is not a unidirectional, set of do's and don'ts, good and bad. It is a very clear conversation that is happening between Krishna and Arjuna, the Lord and his devotee. Krishna is asking him questions, Arjuna is asking him questions, and Krishna is clarifying and providing his guidance. Think about it for a second. Isn't that how Swami also was with us? Remember all those conversations Swami used to have with devotees, with students in the portico. Think about all the conversations he had had in Trayi Vrindavan sessions. Think about all the conversations in Kodaikanal. Think about all the thousands of conversations he had had in private audience in the interview room. Devotees have always had the chance to ask the dumbest basic questions to him, and he has helped them understand so much. That's exactly how Swami brought us up. That was the first thing that occurred to me. The second that occurred to me was, look at the setting in this picture with Krishna and Arjuna. Where is it actually happening? You would assume that the most granular details of Advaita philosophy would probably be taught in the jungles, probably taught in hills of Himalayas. No, it did not happen. It happened in Warfield. It happened where Arjuna was torn between the right and the wrong, good and the bad, as he perceived it in the battlefield between 2 sets of extremes, and he had to make decision there. Think of how Swami has actually, guided us. Every single Sai center is there in the middle of the city, closest to your home. Swami in fact encouraged home bhajans to be held, study circles to be held inside the home, because that is where action is happening. That is Kurukshetra. Right? Kurukshetra quite literally means the land of action. That is where action is actually happening. And he did not want us to just go away and far away retreat centers and contemplate on all these things, right? It was really the land of action, the place of action, where we need to be charged. We need to understand how to act and then go act on that. So that setting of this actually occurring in a battlefield occurred to me, and I was thinking, that's exactly how Swami wants us to be. Number 3, if you see at the end of Gita, what happens is Krishna gives all this knowledge to Arjuna. Arjuna has a whole lot of knowledge now. And then Krishna is not telling, fine, wear ochre robes and come. He's saying, now go fight your war. And I think it's an extremely important distinction that we need to be clear about, even in the way Swami asked us to be. He never said, come here, learn everything I have to teach, wear orange robe or white dress and stay back in the ashram. If at all, he made it very hard for people to stay back there. He always wanted us to go back. He embodied for us his phrase of Heads in the forest, hands in the society. He never wanted us to give up worldly life. It's very clearly he said, I want you to live the worldly life in a spiritual way. That was the difference. Even in Gita, if you see, Arjuna learns all this and Krishna wants him to learn all this, and with that knowledge he wants him to go and do the action. Go fight the war now. You are very clear why you are fighting this war. You are very clear how you are going to do this. Now go back and do it. And that is what Swami always has guided us. Come, learn, go back and do your job. It is very, very important that we all understand this, I thought. In Gita, Krishna says, Yoga Karmasha Kaushalam. He says, action is the central point of Gita. Doing whatever we are doing. It could be the job of the president, it could be the job of a janitor, it could be the job of a counselor, any job we are doing. Yoga Karmasha Kaushalam, whatever we are doing, we need to do it in an excellent way. We all know how Swami was so particular on perfection. Anywhere in the world today, any Sai event, this is the format, right? We spoke about it. We actually had our alumni meet 2 weeks back in Atlanta and we were talking about this. Wherever in the world you go, you pick 2 random students, pick 2 random devotees, put them together and say, we need to have a Sai event. How should we form? This is the format. Everybody, that is how he has groomed me. We will start with Omkara, we will do Nagar Sankirtan, we will do bhajans, we will have certain programs, we will have cultural programs, we will have kids chant Vedam. This is how he has groomed us. Perfection in everything is what he expects. That's exactly what Krishna was trying to teach Arjuna. Yoga Karmasha Kaushala. And lastly, I thought there is one point which very beautifully Professor G. Venkatraman, our ex-Vice Chancellor of the University, Sathya Sai University, recollects very beautifully about an incident that happened in Trai Vrindavan. Swami was sitting with all the students in Trai and he asked this question apparently to the students to say, what is the essence of Gita? Does anyone know? And one boy gave some answer. Swami said, okay, but not really. Somebody else gave an answer. Yes, but not fully. And then Swami asks, what is the first shloka in Bhagavad Gita? Does anyone know? And then one boy recollected and said it. Dharmakshetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveta, Yuyutsavaha, Mamakav Pandavas Cheva, Kimakurvata Sanjaya. This is the blind Dhritarashtra asking Sanjaya, in the Dharmakshetra, in the Kurukshetra, what is happening, Sanjaya? They have assembled there, Pandavas and Kauravas have assembled there, what are they doing? This was the first shloka in Bhagavad Gita and one of the students answered. He said, correct. What is the last shloka in Bhagavad Gita? And again somebody else remembered and answered, Yatra Yogeshwara Tishto Yatra Partho Dhanurdharaha Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhutir Dhruvani Dirma Dirmama. Somebody answered that. And he said, correct. And he said, take the first word of the first shloka. This is Dharma Kshetre. This is Dharma. What is the last word of the last shloka? Dhruvani Dirma Dirmama. He said, Mama. He literally took the bookends of Bhagavad Gita and said, combine these 2 words. And he said, Mama Dharma. And he said, that is the essence of Gita. Mama Dharma. My Dharma. Act according to my Dharma. That is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. And if you see, and yesterday, incidentally, interestingly, I was at Brother Girish's house in the night, and he has a very nice book on his table on Mahabharata. And as we were sitting and chatting, I picked up that book and I was glancing through some pages, and I randomly flipped through pages. It went to one page which had the title which says The Death of Krishna. And I had never really read about it or known about it, so I started to read it. So The Death of Krishna, so I started to read it. And in that, it says Krishna was the God. Now he has completed his entire life. The whole Mahabharata is over. He is literally in the last stage of his avatarhood. And because he is God and because he is a prince, he can of course, he is God, right? He can do whatever he wants. He can exit however he wants. But he says, it is my dharma to go as a man on this earth. I have taken birth as a human and I need to exit as a human. So he has to die as a human. That is his dharma, he says. And how is that supposed to happen? Apparently Krishna also had a boon that his entire body is insulated. You cannot really harm any part of his body to kill him. And there is only one place in his body which is not so-called insulated, which is his feet, under his feet. He walks all the time. How will you injure him there? So what does Krishna do? And this is what I think he means. This is me trying to interpret, right? This is like Mama Dharma. I have come as a prince, I have come as a human, I need to live as a human. So Krishna goes away into a forest. And then he decides to sleep in the forest. So that his leg is exposed, the feet is exposed. And he is wearing an orange or a yellowish dress, a golden colored dress. And he is sleeping. What happens next is a hunter is passing by. And the hunter looks at, from a distance, he looked at the orange, golden colored cover there behind the trees and the bushes and mistakes Krishna to be a deer. So he pulls out an arrow and shoots at this apparent deer, and it pierces exactly in the feet. And Krishna is suffering immense pain at that point. And this hunter realizes that he has actually not shot a deer now. And he runs towards his prey and sees that a man is lying there hurt from his arrow. He doesn't realize that it's Krishna the God. And he, for a second, thinks, what have I done here? And tries to do everything possible to revive this man. And then Krishna tells him, oh dear man, do not worry. You have done me a favor. You have allowed me to die, which was a problem. You have now facilitated my death, and hence you will get mukti because of this. And then Krishna passes away because of that pain and because of that arrow. That is what Mama Dharma is trying to exemplify, and says, I am a God, I can go in any ways, but I have to leave this body in the human form. And I am thinking to myself, how much Swami insisted to follow our own Dharma. And there were so many instances, right? And this is all up to our interpretation and how we can perceive this and try to learn from this. And I'm thinking Swami, as a child, he started SSC programs, Bal Vikas, because that's what he wanted children to learn. He conducted summer courses for students because he said, you as a student, you as a citizen of this country, you as a citizen of this world, here is what you need to learn to live your life. He had a dedicated for Ladies' Day where he said all the programs were dedicated and how you would live as a lady on that day. Now the gents might complain there were no gents' day. I thought for ladies he has a day, for kids he has a day, for the rest of the days for us. We need so many days to learn from him, so the rest of the days are for us. He also explicitly said, I am not here to create a new religion. I am here so that a Hindu becomes a better Hindu. A Muslim becomes a better Muslim. He's clearly anchoring us on our own Dharma and said, you need to live your life as per your own Dharma. And hence Mama Dharma was very, very central to what Swami wanted us to live like. So I thought these four, when I was thinking, it was very interesting to me to reflect on and say how Gita and how Swami, and I'm sure all of you will come up with 10 other things to say. It is very similar if you really, really think through this, but I thought these four to me occurred saying, the Gita and the Swami were very, very similar. And at this point I'm thinking, this is just not it. And I think this is just the surface. I don't think it fully answers the question why I perceived this Gita, the teachings of the Gita and the teachings of our Swami as the same. And I wanted to go a little bit more deeper to understand. And hence my next question, why Gita? I from then on started to read a little bit of Gita Vahini, because that's clearly a culmination of Swami's way of teaching us all Gita. And I wanted to share a little bit from that or whatever I learned. A lot of it, and I'm sure the attempt here is not to summarize the entire Gita, analyze it, compare it, contrast it and present it. It's simply impossible. Not the attempt to say whatever Swami has taught everything and I'm going to bring it right. It was more of, I found a few things very interesting to me and applicable to me, and I wanted to share all of that with you. But first the question, why Gita? There is a very hilarious incident, but a very profound incident at the same time, which I wanted to share with you. I was talking to Geeta auntie a few weeks ago. Many of you may know Geeta Mohan Ram. I'm related to her, I'm her nephew. I was talking to her recently, and she told me this incident. Whenever Swami gave her interviews, she used to be very eager in asking questions to Swami. She used to ask a lot of questions to Swami, and Swami used to answer. Apparently there was one interview where she was inside the interview room with her mother, and she was unusually silent that day. She was not asking a lot of questions. And after a while, Swami looked at her mother and said, "Why is this girl sitting so silently today? Why is she not asking a lot of questions?" And then her mother said, "Swami, she is angry with you. She's mad at you." Swami said, "Why?" She said, "She's mad at you because you named her Geeta." And then Swami was surprised and she looked at her and said, "What do you mean?" And Geeta auntie said, "There are 9 Geetas in my class. Every other girl's name is Geeta in my class. Couldn't you have found some other name? Why did you have to name me Geeta?" And then Swami's reply. Swami actually replied to that in the form of a small bhajan. And I wanted to share that with you. And he said, "Geeta sarame Bhagavan Sai namamu. Geeta sarame Bhagavan Sai namamu. Geeta mantra me Sai bodhamarmamu. Geeta mantra me Sai bodhamarmamu. Geeta pana me parama Madhura Parama Pavanam. Geeta Pana Me Madhura Parama Pavanam. Geeta Tattva Me Sakala Janma Sarthakam. Geeta Tattva Me Sakala Janma Sarthakam. Geeta Sara Me Bhagavan Sai Namamu." This is what Swami said. And this actually is composed by Srimati Mani Bhashyam. Mani auntie also happens to be my relative. She, for many of you who might know, composed the Vibhuti Mantram that we chant today. Parama Pavitram was composed by Mani auntie. And she composed this bhajan as well and had sung in front of Swami. And nobody knew. And Swami actually sang this bhajan to Geeta auntie and said, "See, that is how important Geeta is. That is how important you are." But the answer to this question, brothers and sisters, is directly Swami telling us, Geeta Sarame Sai Namamu. It clearly he's saying that is the essence of Sai Namamu. That is the essence of what he's trying to teach, and he is giving us that answer. For all of us, I've also heard this comparison a few times, and I think it makes so much more easy for us to understand about this. Vedas apparently are like jackfruit, in its original form. Very, very hard to consume. Unless you really, really know and understand it, it's very difficult to consume Vedas. Upanishads, which come at the end of the Gita, are like removing all the hard shell of the jackfruit and finally finding the fruit to eat. Because that's the essence. Upanishads are like that. And then it is said Gita, Bhagavad Gita, is compared to a banana fruit. It is very easy to peel and eat. That is how simple Gita is. It gives the same essence, but it is a lot more easier to consume. If you read it, it is a lot more easier. It is like question answer. It is so much more easier. And I am thinking to myself after reading Gita Vahini, the way Swami has taught us Gita is like just drinking milk. There is hardly any effort required to understand it. To practice is altogether a different question, so let me not get to that. At least to understand it, it is very simple. If you all read Gita Vahini, it is so much clear. It gives so many examples, and it makes it so much simpler for all of us to understand. It is like drinking milk, I thought. Now, after reading some of this in the Gita Vahini, there were 4 things which occurred to me, which I thought I wanted to share with all of you today. I'm sure, again, like I said, the attempt here is not to really summarize the entire of Gita and the entirety of Swami's teachings. and share. But these are the 4 that occur to me as very, very apt for me and relevant for me to understand, and I wanted to share all of that with you. The first thing that struck to me was in the Gita, Krishna is saying every devotee should evaluate their guru. I thought this was a very, very new thing that I'm learning now. Having been raised in India in that generation where you are just to say, I am telling you, you do it. Just do it. It's almost like we gave Nike the tagline, no, just do it, no questions asked. We've also heard this song, Guruvina Gulama Naguva Tanaka Dorayadanda Mukuti. In Kannada, there is actually a song composed by a saint. Unless you become a servant of the Guru, you will not get salvation. Which is absolutely right, but also I'm saying, how much you are submissive to a Guru, you are never questioning the Guru, you are never taught. Now this was a very refreshing insight into me when I read in the Gita where Krishna is saying a devotee should always evaluate the Guru. And Swami goes on to explain that beautifully in Gita Vahini, and he describes the characteristics of what a true Guru should look like. And he says many Gurus today have Anubhava Gnana. And he says they have this Gnana because they have experienced it. That doesn't necessarily mean they are able to save you as a devotee. So don't get carried away. I thought it's very important for us. We have Gurus all over today. Everybody is on Instagram. There is 101 ways to get confused. In that world we live in, it is very important for us to understand who is my right Guru. And I'm reminded of one small incident that happened to me in Parthi when I was there. Many of us in my batch, I was in Parthi for 2005 and 2007. I did my MBA there. And in that batch, there were many of us who were joining Parthi for the first time. We had never been in the institute, we had never been in the hostel. So we had this class called the awareness class. And awareness class was very much similar to this, right? Like whatever Swami teaches, whatever our scriptures teach, how do you apply that in your world? That was the overarching objective of this class. And I remember in the first or second awareness class, one of my teachers saying, listen brothers, many of you are new to this place. You may have interacted with Swami before, but as a student you are new. This is your opportunity to test him. You are here for 2 years, he is with you for 2 years. This is your opportunity to test him. And that somehow struck a deep chord in me. Is that really right? Can I really test him while I'm here? And will that really work? And I did it. I did have my own tests. I did have my own experiences with him. I did have my own doubts. I did have my own questions. I was never so physically close to interact extensively with him, though I did have a few opportunities, but that was not the point. I had my own testing mechanisms to say, Swami, is that really true? Are you really God? Can you really do this? Everybody says about you. And I had my own convincing answers. So why I'm saying this is, he is available to us for this. I don't think borrowed faith will last long. We've all come, a lot of us have come from families who have been oriented with Swami for a long time. But that will only take us this far. The conviction that gives us when you have your own experience with Swami is completely different. And to that he was like a teacher, gave us a license, go test him out. He's here. Every morning, every evening, he's for darshan. You are going for darshan, do your own experiments. And I did it, and it was very convincing to me. So my first point, when I was looking at this, and when I read, and when Swami was saying, you know who your Guru is, I think we should all invest in that. With the right intent, right? With the right intent, we need to go and make sure we have our right Guru, and after that, it's only the following the Guru. The second question to me, which was really very impressive and it struck a deep chord in me again, was Arjuna asking the question to Krishna, why do we suffer? Why is there sorrow? And what is the source of that? I'm sure all of us will have this at some point of time. We go through this. And we want to have answers to that. Why does this happen? What is the source of that? And Krishna answers to him and says, there is grief, there is sorrow because you identify yourself as body. and you limit only to that. And the only way to get away from that is with knowledge, with jnana. It is still a very high level concept for us to understand this, I thought. And then Swami gives his flavor to it, right? When you read Gita, when it's beautifully explained, and at least to understand intellectually, it's very easy. And Swami says, think about it. You are walking in a forest, and you see a rope that lies there in the forest on your way, and you're at a distance, and because you're in the forest, you pause for a second. You don't know what it is. It appears to you for a second as a snake. Is that a snake? And then you doubt yourself and then you say, is that a root of a tree? Should I try to kick it and see if it moves or not? How cautious should I be to go close to it? And then he says, how will this ever become real to you? How will you ever know it is neither, it is just a rope that is lying there? It becomes clear to you when you go, touch it, feel it, understand, when you have the full knowledge that that is a rope. And that is neither, it was never a snake, it is never a root of a tree. It's just a rope. And that knowledge removes your ignorance. And he says, this is exactly like that. Your life is exactly like that. Everything you assume it is something. And the only way to get away from that assumption is by really knowing what it is. It's by really getting that jnana. He says, that's the knowledge. And then Arjuna is not satisfied and he's asking Krishna, okay, fine. How do I get that? And then Krishna says, sadhana and sadhana alone can get you that knowledge. Nothing else. Sadhana and sadhana alone. Arjuna is still not very happy. Arjuna is asking this question to Krishna again. Well, Krishna, you're making it sound like sadhana is very easy. Is it really that easy? And Krishna says, it is very easy. In whatever you do, you think of me. That is enough. I will take care of the rest. Arjuna is not an easy customer. He again pauses and says, no, hold on. It is not so easy. How will I do my job? If I think of you every time, how will I do my job? How is it ever possible for me to think of you all the time? And that is when Krishna says this very popular shloka that we hear. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janam paripasate tesham nityabhyuktanam yogakshema maranam. You think about me, I will take care of you. And Arjuna is still not very convinced. And he said, no, it's not possible. Are there any easier ways to think of you? It's not possible like that. And then Krishna says, yes, there is an easier way to think of it. Just chant my name. And that is enough. I will take care of you. Just chant my name. Elsewhere, as Narayana, many of us would have heard this. Narayana is having this conversation with Narada and says, Naham tishtami vaikunte yoginam hridayena cha mad bhakta yatra gayanti tatra tishtami Narada. He says, I am not there in Vaikuntha. I am not there in the hearts of any yogi. I am there wherever my devotee is singing my name. That is his assurance. And that is what Krishna is saying. You sing my name and I will be there for you. Like Brother Girish mentioned, my family has been in the Sai fold for multiple generations now. Swami named my mother. Swami helped my mother to get her first job. Swami helped my mother when she got married and blessed her. All along my life, my mother's life, Swami was the only God she ever knew. There was no, and I'm sure many of you in your own families are also having the same situation. There's no other concept of God other than Swami. My mother got married, and my father's side, they were not really Swami's devotees. And she was very restricted from henceforth to really come to Parthi and even talk about Swami openly. It was almost like, a train is cruising and then you suddenly jam the brakes. You don't know what's going to happen. And this was a huge, huge shock to my mom. She was not able to openly talk about Swami, not able to visit Parthi. There was no other vacation. Every holiday, it is Bangalore to Puttaparthi and back. That is it. For years and years and years. And now here she is in a position where she can't even travel to Parthi anymore. She can't visit Parthi anymore. She can't see Swami anymore. All her sisters, her relatives, everybody continued to go to Parthi, did Swami's work, used to visit centers and everything, but she never even went to the centers. Many, many, many years later, my relatives, my mother and her sisters went to Parthi for darshan. This was really decades after that. And then in the morning, Swami came out and told one of my aunts, all of you have come, meaning all sisters have come. All the 4 sisters were there. So auntie said yes. And Swami said, come in the evening, Chira is done. You come in the evening, I will give you sari for all 4 of you. So they were very happy. Swami said they will give us saris. And in the evening, like Swami had directed, they went and stood near the interview room. Swami came and asked somebody to bring some saris from inside and started to hand over saris one by one to all the sisters. And when it came to my mom, my mother broke down and said, Swami, I have not been able to do anything for you these years. I don't think I have the right to take this as a gift and your blessing. I have not done anything. It's been years now since I've ever come to you and did any work for you, and I will not be happy if I take this. Swami's response, నువ్వు ఎక్కడుండినా నా భజన పాడుతూ ఉంటావు, నాకు అది తెలుసు, తీసుకో. That is the one thing she did. Every day I have heard this in my life. Wherever she is, she used to sing Swami's bhajan. That is the only thing she did. And that touched Swami. He said, wherever you are, you sing my bhajan. You are eligible to take this, take it. And that stuck to me ever since then, Whatever we do, wherever we are, if we sing his bhajan, that's all that cares. And he will take care. And look at the instruments that he has given us. The centers, these bhajans are so much an integral part of our lives today. We will never do a Sai event without a bhajan. It can never go without a bhajan. That is how he has integrated the lessons of Gita into our lives, and we don't even realize that today. We do it so naturally, automatically. But he has made it one. There is no difference of spirituality, worldly life. He has put it in our schedule. Any Sai devotee randomly I get into a car with and we walk, they have the Sai bhajans on in their car. They listen to it. They have their own ways in engaging with Swami. And that touches Swami, and he has made it very evident. It cannot be different. What Krishna told Arjuna is exactly what Swami expects from us, and he has taught it and he honors it. He does that every single time. So that's the second thing that really occurred to me, or the question to say, how can I think about you, Swami? And this is the answer he has given it. And we always follow that. Now Arjuna is still not happy. He said, fine, you asked me to do this. I have enough and more work to do now. He asks Krishna, why should I do it now? Let me finish all my work right now. And let me do it later. When I am not able to do all of this, let me do it later. Should I really be doing it now? And Krishna says, Arjuna, don't be so naive. These things take time. You cannot decide whenever you want to do. Sadhana takes time to build. You cannot suddenly say at the end of my life I will start doing this and expect benefits to happen. You need to build this. This is not easy. It takes time. You need to do it from now. And I'm here thinking, look at Swami. Look at the fact that he created SSC at that age we need to do. At that age they need to start learning. Look at these kids. So lovely when to see all of them chant, Vedam. That is what he has helped us create without we really realizing it. These things actually take time, and he wants us to start early. Start early, drive safely, slowly and reach safely. That is the true meaning of this, to do it. 1972, my grandfather turned 60 years. And my grandfather and my grandmother visited Swami. Swami called them both for interview. And then my grandfather, in a very emotional state, said, Swami, I have wasted 60 years of my life. Swami's reply to that, waste kaadu Sitaram, taste chesinao. So powerful. Think about it for a minute. 60 years you have tasted the life. You have not wasted the life. Another occasion, the entire family, 30-40 of them probably, went to Parthi with all their children. There were about 15-20 kids, very small kids, across all age groups. All of them went to Parthi. And Swami said, Andaru chesaru. And he said, I will call you for interview. And he said, all the couples come separately to the interview room. Each of you come, 2 of you. And then after that, the next couple come. After that, the next couple come. And accordingly, everybody lined up in front of the interview room. They were all sitting. And every couple went inside, spoke with Swami, whatever they had to ask, whatever Swami had to say. A few minutes spent there, and they came out. And they went out. The next couple entered. It so happened, after a few couples took their turn, all the children there started to feel very insecure. Now, what is this happening? My dad and mom went inside and came. I was not taken inside. There's no interview for us. They wanted interview. All the children. What they did, they went and sat right at the end of the line, behind the last couple. And as the couples kept moving forward, they also kept going towards the interview room. And then the last couple went inside. They spent some time with Swami. They came out. Swami thought, done. He came outside, and there's this bunch of kids sitting right at the door of the interview room and looking at him. And Swami looked at them and said, me go interview now. He said, yes, Swami, we also want interview. Why not for us? And Swami made way for them and said, go inside. All of them excited, went inside, sat in the interview room around this chair. Swami came inside, locked the room, came inside, sat on the chair. Chappandi, emi korika? Tell me, what do you want? What do you want to know? Nobody has any idea. They just wanted to go. That's it. They had no idea. Everybody is sitting looking at each other's face. What are we going to ask Swami now? And there is one aunt of mine who used to generally be very more like a leader for the group. Everybody prodded her, ask something. We've come here, otherwise we'll be sent out, ask something. And she made a mistake and asked Swami, many of us have applied for board exam this year. What will be the result? And then Swami said, board exam result. And he looked at all of them in their eye. One by one, every single person, he looked at everybody in the eye. And then in the end, our classic Swami reply, right? So he said, Andaru pass avtaru, okkar tappu. Everybody will pass except for one person. And he said, L&D. He didn't say who that is. Now everybody is thinking it is me. They were the only group which went in happy, came out sad from the interview room. And they regretted having gone in. Now they have to wait till the exam results come out to figure out who is that one person who is going to fail. And they came out. And then Swami went to my grandmother. And this is where the beauty of Swami really, he goes to my grandmother and he says, Chudu Sundarama, Kalpavrikshame vachi, Eduta nilachi, Yemi kavali ani adigite, coffee pudi adugutaru ee pillalu. So he said, the Kalpavriksha has come, the wish-fulfilling tree has come and is asking you, what do you want? And these kids are asking for coffee powder. Is that fair? And here I am reading this and I'm thinking, how many years, first of all, I have spent wasted or tasted? Have I even now stopped asking for coffee powder? Or am I still asking for coffee powder? Do I even know what I'm supposed to be asking? And here we have the wish-fulfilling tree, and I don't even think I know what I want to ask him. And it is not easy. It will not come. 60 years later, if I have said, okay, I've wasted my life and now I want to ask, I will still ask for coffee powder. I don't think it is very easy. It's very clear. Krishna is saying you need to start early. And I'm starting to wonder, and I've heard this incident so many times, putting it in the context of the Gita lesson and what Swami has taught us, is bringing new perspectives to these incidents and saying, is it really right? Like, am I asking anything more than coffee powder, and am I still asking every day for coffee powder? It was very meaningful to me when I read this. And hence I thought, my next question, it is going there. And as I'm reading this through, I really now want to understand the next question. Why should we study, understand, practice all that is taught in Gita? Why really should we learn all this? Why should we be practicing all this, and what should we be asking? And this, I think, is where Swami is also touching at this point in Gita Vahini. And he answers this question very emphatically, very clear. He says, so many of you read Gita and use Gita for so many different reasons. Do you know why exactly it is intended for? And he says, a lot of you learn Gita, you go teach somewhere, make money out of it. You recite competitions, Gita Shlokam, win awards. And we all know there are even books written about leadership lessons, management lessons from Gita. There are so many uses for Gita as we perceive it today. And I don't think any of that is wrong. But is this really the intent of Gita is something that we should ask ourselves. And that is what Swami is pushing us. You know, he also says, many of you learn Gita and go give lectures and earn money. And I'm for a second ignoring that because I'm not earning money. I'm just feeling it today. I'm thinking it's not for me today. But then he's very clear. He says, many of you go give lectures on Gita. Do you really know why you need to study Gita? And that, I thought, was the crux of everything that Swami has taught, and the crux of everything that is written in the Gita. And that is unequivocally when Swami says, the real purpose for you is to understand the divinity within you. And he says this unmistakably in every single discourse of his. And that, I think, is what even the Gita is teaching us. And that's what Krishna is teaching Arjuna to say, understand the reality. That you are the divine yourself, and practicing all these things hopefully will take us there. And that to me was so consistent with what Swami has been telling in every discourse. You pick, who am I? Ask who am I? Ask who am I? He says that relentlessly, and he said that ever since he declared his avatar till the last discourse that he gave physically. So brothers and sisters, I thought these lessons from Gita and Swami are very important for us to understand, and whenever we have a doubt, it's very clear it's there, out there, for us to really go and understand this. And he made it very clear, it is very consistent with how it is. He has given us all the tools, all the instruments that are required, the whole ecosystem of we coming together, doing bhajans, doing retreats, every single thing he has set it up for us, and we just need to follow that path now. And hopefully with his grace we will reach that destination. That was, I thought, where my fifth why actually led me to understand really what is the purpose. And it progressively became so intense. It started from why am I going there, it is Avatar Day, to what is the essence of all these things and why do we need to understand this. And the answer is exactly what Swami is telling. And hopefully this session in the last few minutes we all are aligned on why the 5 whys and where it has led to. And I'm not reading Gita because I wanted to prove a framework from Toyota. I think it has a lot more meaningful reason because of which we need to engage with that. With this, I want to conclude today. I really want to thank the leadership of Greensboro, Charlotte and Raleigh Centers for giving me this opportunity to come and share this with you and be a part of this beautiful day celebrations. Like Brother Girish said, I also truly believe that we all celebrate 23rd November as the birthday of Swami, but this, if not more, is equally important and one of the most important days, and we should be grateful that Swami did everything that he did for us. Thank you and Jai Sai Ram.
Wow, what a wonderful session we just had. I work with the 5 whys in my workplace every other week, but I've never really applied this on the spiritual side. Maybe this is a good start. I learned a lot. So thank you so much, brother and family, for coming and sharing your personal experiences and enlightening us. Small anecdotes of Bhagavad Gita, so a lot to learn. And let's all get beyond coffee powder and think for something big. This reminds me of what Gitanji had mentioned in the retreat. One time, when they went and asked for Swami's blessings, Swami said, don't ask for my blessing, just ask for the grace. Because, I am of so much, I wanted to give you the grace. So thank you for reminding us of that. With that, thank you so much again. I would like to invite Dr. Vadraj and Shastri Uncle to just come on stage and give a small token of appreciation. Just a quick note, talking about service. We had recently Hurricane Helene hit our neighbors and in Western Carolinas. A lot of service is being done, especially Charlotte Center is taking a big foot forward and doing a lot of things. As a group, we are actually going to the site next Saturday. If anybody can join, it's in Boone. I think the email or the message has been sent, so please sign up if you can. This is next Saturday in Boone. Since we talked so much about Bhagavad Gita, so let's chant 2 shlokas of Bhagavad Gita. Brahmarpanam, which is in chapter 4, and Aham Vaishnava is in chapter 15, which we all know. So let's conclude and have the lunch prasad. So right after the lunch prasad, we'll break for an hour. We will meet up for the SSAC sessions. Jai Sai Ram.
Praninam Dehamaashita